Hi guys, I'm Dr. Tara Tobias. I want to welcome you all back to this channel. In today's home exercise tutorial, we are going to go over a pretty common walking problem that happens after a stroke or a brain injury that I haven't really addressed yet in any of the videos, but it did come up in the comments. And the comment that came up was if there's any reason why someone would supinate on their uninvolved leg. So I've talked a lot in my videos about spasticity and how that'll make your involved foot roll when you're standing on it. But this person has noticed that that's actually happening on the uninvolved leg. So I gave it a little bit of thought, and I do think it's a pretty common walking problem that falls under a little bit of a bigger category that we call vaulting. So I'm going to talk about what that means, why it happens, and how to fix it. But before we get into that, if you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload new videos. So now let's dive into the content of this video. So vaulting. Now what is vaulting? So vaulting is when you rise up on their uninvolved leg, and the most common reason people do that is so that they can clear their involved foot so that it doesn't catch on the ground. So in the comments, someone had asked if it was common for someone to supinate, and they actually use that word, supinate, on their uninvolved leg. So again, as I mentioned, I talked about that a lot and how it relates to spasticity and how that happens if you do have spasticity in your ankle. But yes, I can see how someone would supinate on their uninvolved leg. And the reason is because supinating the foot or rolling to the outside of the foot technically makes that leg longer. So if you find that you're rolling to the outside of that uninvolved leg when you're stepping your involved leg forward, that is probably a compensation to lengthen the leg in order to clear that foot. So there's a variety of reasons why you might be doing that. But just to reiterate one more time, vaulting is going up on your toe. I think supination is a compensation that falls in that same category of a way to lengthen your uninvolved leg so that you can clear your involved foot. Now, why might you do that? So there's a variety of reasons why you might vault up or want to lengthen that uninvolved leg in order to clear the foot. The most common is you can't bend the knee, so you have an extensor synergy that kicks in when you're standing on the involved leg, and you just can't release that when you go to swing the leg through. So if you're unable to bend the knee, you're obviously gonna need to get your body further from the ground so that you can swing that straight leg through. The other reason is if you have a pointed foot due to plantar flexion spasticity, that will make your involved leg longer, and so therefore you might vault up on your uninvolved leg in order to be able to clear the ground. Another reason you might do that is that you can't dissociate. So again, you can't bend your involved leg to swing it through because your uninvolved leg is straight. And as I talked about in a recent video series I did on dissociation, if one goes straight, the other one's gonna wanna stay straight. And therefore you might have to vault up on your uninvolved leg in order to swing a straight leg through without catching it on the ground. And then two others are related to weakness. So if you don't have the hip strength or the knee strength to bend the hip and bend the knee to swing the leg through, you might vault up, again, because that leg is staying straight. Or if you have a foot drop and your foot is floppy and it flops down, again, that's gonna make that leg longer, harder to clear that foot. So you might compensate subconsciously most of the time by vaulting up on the uninvolved leg. So I'm gonna put links to the videos in the description below on dissociation, since I just recently talked about that. And then also I've talked about having a stiff leg, so I'll put a link for that in the description below. Plantar flexion spasticity, or pointing the foot, I've talked about quite a bit, so I'll put links for all those videos in the description below, so that if you think that any of those problems are what's causing you to vault up, you're gonna wanna watch this video and do this video in conjunction with those other videos, because there's kind of two problems going on. But now, how do you break that habit? And that's what we're gonna go over in today's video as far as the exercises go. As you guys know, I always like to start with a little prep work before we get into standing and walking activities. So the things that I would focus on in the prep work prior to getting to standing is really stretching that ankle and making sure that you have the range. If you can't get that ankle to at least 90 degrees, that leg is going to be longer. It's going to be harder to clear that foot. You're going to have to compensate for that somehow, and you might compensate by vaulting up on that foot. So I definitely stretch the ankle out, stretch the dorsiflexors out on a foam wedge. And then I'd also work on knee bending. So whether you can't bend your knee due to weakness or you can't bend the knee due to an extensor synergy pattern, you really want to get comfortable with knee bending, breaking up that pattern. If you find that that's easy, work on bending the knee, laying down. I like to do it on the back and on the stomach with the leg hanging off when you're on your back. And that's because you want to do it with the hip straight, because that's pretty much the position you're in when you need to bend that knee at the very beginning of what we call the swing phase. So you want to make sure that hip is straight and really try and isolate knee bending there. Now, obviously, if you're in the early stages and you can't do that, watch the video that I link below on bending the knee, because I go through a whole progression and there are steps leading up to that if you can't do the bend the knee with the hip straight. So definitely watch that video. And then also, if it's due to weakness, you want to work on lifting the leg up or bringing the knee up towards the chest. That will also prevent you from having to vault up on that other leg. I like to use the gym ball for this. Start with both legs on the gym ball initially to kind of use the uninvolved leg to help, and then just isolate the involved leg by taking the other leg off the ball. And now the standing progression. So what is the standing progression to break this habit? First, what I just said, you need to break the habit. So it might not even be anything that any strength you need to develop or any movement control you need to develop. It might just be you need to break the habit. So what I like to do initially is start by raising someone's up on the other side so that we make that leg longer automatically so that you don't vault up. So first we need to break the habit of vaulting up. So I would just raise you up a little bit. There's this tool you can add to the bottom of a shoe. I would not walk in it, but I will put it in the link below. You just want to be raised up probably about 1/4 of an inch. I think this lift goes up to about 1/2 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch. Do not walk in this. This is only to work on standing balance. If you have any balance problems at all, it's not designed for someone that's had a stroke. It's actually designed for someone who breaks their leg and is in a cast and they need to even their legs out. But it's not made for walking for someone after a stroke. So only for standing, but it is great because it attaches to the bottom of the shoe. And then you're just going to step forwards and backwards. Now, the goal is here, obviously, if you feel yourself going up on your toe or you feel yourself rolling, you don't want to do that. You want to try and keep the foot flat and in contact with the ground, and then just do forward and backward stepping. And again, right now, we're just trying to break that habit of vaulting up on that uninvolved leg. Now, how do you work on bending the knee? So step one would be to do like a stagger stance and just work on weight shifting. So we call this a pre-gait activity because it is one little phase in the gait cycle, and we're going to be working on how you transition from standing on the involved leg to shifting your weight to your uninvolved leg. Now, the reason you work on this here is you need to learn how to release the knee. So everyone, when they're getting ready to swing their leg through, they want to lift it up right away. And that a lot of times causes the leg to stiffen up. So you really want to work on how to relax before you swing it through. Really relaxing that leg, getting that knee to bend before you swing it through. And that will help you to not want to or feel like you need to vault up on the other leg, is if you can get that knee released prior to swinging it through. So you're just going to get in this staggered position, shift your weight, start with your weight on your involved leg, and then shift your weight forward. And all you're doing is just letting the involved leg relax. You're going to shift your weight forward to your uninvolved leg and just let the involved leg relax. So that is step one. It's nothing active. You're learning how to inhibit some of those muscles that keep the leg straight so that you can bend it. If you find that that the knee doesn't bend in this position, I recommend starting on like a 2-inch step and stepping down off of that step. Having that foot up just a little bit higher will help you with gravity, will help that knee to bend. So that is the knee bending component of the walking cycle. So the other piece is, can you keep it bent as you swing it through? So a lot of times when you try and actively bring that leg through, again, it's going to want to lock out. So the next exercise would be with a furniture slider. Again, you're trying to learn how to keep the leg relaxed. So you want to make it as easy as possible. And you don't want to hike the hip up. So I didn't mention that, but that kind of falls into the same category with vaulting, is if you don't vault up on that leg, a lot of times people will hike their hip up. So this furniture slider activity actually helps with that. So you want to keep your foot in contact with the ground, and then the furniture slider just makes it a little bit easier to swing the leg through. Now you really want to focus on 2 things. I already mentioned not lifting the hip up, so keeping that hip down, and then also keeping the knee relaxed and trying to swing it through. Again, you want to make it as easy as possible so that the leg doesn't stiffen up when you go to bring it through. And do this over and over and over again, as much as possible, really learning how to keep that knee relaxed, bringing that leg through and not vaulting up on the uninvolved leg. And that's it as far as the exercises to get you started on unlearning that vaulting or going up on your toes on your uninvolved leg. Now, a couple of other considerations that you might want to talk to your therapist about, or talk to the person that made your brace, is a lot of times what I see is that someone's brace is pointed because you don't have the range in your involved ankle, so the brace is slightly pointed. But no one ever addresses that on the other shoe. So you don't have the range of motion. Maybe they put a lift on your involved leg, but when they do that, they really need to take your other shoe and put a lift on that, and not just a heel lift. You really want to take that shoe into the person that made your brace and have them go all the way across. If not, and you just put a wedge in it, you can see you're kind of facilitating that vaulting on that uninvolved leg, but you really want to raise that leg up a little bit if you don't have the range of motion, or your brace, your AFO on your involved leg is a little bit pointed. If you don't know if it's a little bit pointed, take it out and look and see if there's a wedge glued to the bottom of your brace, or sometimes they don't even adjust for it and they'll just keep it pointed and not do anything. If you set it upright, does the upright piece tip back? If either of those are the case, that means your brace is a little bit pointed. And first, if you don't have a wedge underneath that involved leg, you need to take it in and have them do that. But then also they need to adjust that height and level it out by adding a little bit to the sole of the uninvolved shoe. But I hope all that made sense. Definitely, if you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments below. I love your questions. They literally are the inspiration behind every single one of these videos. If I've responded to your comment and I said I'm gonna make a video on it, I promise you I'm gonna make a video on it. I've gotten a couple people that have talked about scissoring or their legs crossing. That is moving up to the top of the list because there are several of you now that have asked for that video. So look for that coming up real soon. How to learn how to walk without your legs crossing in front of each other. So that video is coming up, as well as anyone else that I answered to that I said I would make a video. I promise you it is coming. Again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, give this video a thumbs up if you like these exercise progressions to improve your walking. If you haven't checked out the new website yet, definitely head over there. I posted a couple of blogs this week. So it's just a resource tool that I created specifically for this YouTube community. So definitely check that out. And that is it for this video. I'm not sure if I already said that. When I go back and edit these videos. I realize a lot of times that I say that twice, but yes, this is definitely the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed this video today. I enjoyed spending time with you all, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.